Welcome, fans, once again to KB's Unemployed show, the only show on the internet where you can sit at your job and watch a guy who doesn't have one anymore. What will KB do today? Change guitar strings, perhaps? Grade papers? Worry about his future? Who knows? The only thing we know is it's guaranteed to make you question your intelligence, simply because you're watching it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the unemployed lifestyle of KB.
The pods are now open.
Look at my cat. Look at my cat. Look.
I like to study about the world cities and airports.
KB brings just great instincts. That's what you love about him.
Oh, that boy ain't right.
If Andy yearns for Brenda and Brenda cares about Charlene, who pines for Andy, the three of them form one of these. Kara.
What is it, threesome?
No.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Lesbians. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
I don't mind a bit of bush.
37 in a row? Shut the up, okay? Shut the up.
Do you want to start drinking?
Yes.
You know I'm gonna have to go for 420, Bob.
Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its!
Light this candle.
He's right. Let's light this candle.
Light the candle.
Are you ready for it?
There we go. How about that? All right, let's get this going. I can edit this out. Now we get the audio cooking. We are back here on KB's Unemployed show in the second week, which means I've been unemployed for 2 weeks. And I got nothing really going on. I said I got the good facial hair going here, the COVID hair going. It's getting a little sloppy, a little messy, a little bit grayer. And moving forward, I don't know if I'm going to cut it. I just may go full COVID and just let myself go again instead of trying to keep up appearances. Right. I'm not at the point where I'm incredibly depressed, and there would be, lack of personal care at the point where someone would have to, call social services on me or, do a welfare check. But I'm going to kind of let myself go for a couple of days and let's see what happens. Now we're coming up at the end of the year. As I promised today on the show, I was going to have a very special guest. That very special guest being Trevor Thomas, who I'd worked with before when he came over and sat in for Drew on my previous show a couple of times. And now he's off doing his own morning show. But he was the host of Inside Wisconsin Sports with John Anderson from ESPN. And he was going to come and hang out. We were going to talk about everything other than sports because, as I've started to develop this program, who knows where it's going to go. But this is going to be your weekday home for just stuff. I think if anyone wants to sit up there and listen to me talk about anything, that's what I'm going to do because I've got to kill some time. I would like to point out, if you look across the bottom, I'm not compensated for my appearance on my own channel by any broadcast media company, or I do not receive any financial or merchandise consideration for the show from any companies or businesses. So I'd like to get that out there on the record that I'm just hanging out here, killing an hour a day, and I got to have something to do so Sue doesn't get mad at me. So that's where we are at. But Trevor Thomas was going to join us. I texted him this morning, and he said, "Oh man, I can't. My lease is up on my office. I have to move out." So he said he would rejoin me next week. So that left me hanging in the lurch. And that left me hanging in the lurch going, all right, well, I had a whole show with Trevor planned, and now I do not have a show. So what do we do? Well, I do have I've got a great What Color is the Sky on Your Planet coming up, which is something that some scientists in Oxford University have discovered or have postured, or what is that it? Yeah, they have theorized, postulated could happen in the future with the animal kingdom, which I thought was pretty bizarre. I've also got my all-time top five all-time worldwide list, and this one is my top 5 all-time favorite lesser-known Godfather movie quotes. As many of you know, I am a huge fan of the Godfather movies. So I decided to do a little deep dive into the quotes that I find are the most impactful and the most famous. And they may not be some of those that other people may think. You know, of course, we all know the make him an offer he can't refuse. And every time I'm out, they pull me back in from God. That would be the first Godfather movie and the third Godfather movie. But these are a little bit deeper cuts, if you will, that I think are quite revealing and are pretty much kick-ass. And also quotes that friends of mine and I will drop into everyday conversation just as an aside. And as we get to that, I will go through each one of those and explain how we do it. But here we go. Sociable drink. That would be the Maker's Mark Mumbler that I would be enjoying early in the afternoon. I'm out of the Central Standard product right now, but I will be reloading with that because tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Now I was thinking about quitting drinking on New Year's, but it was my wife who kind of talked me out of it. I said, I think I'm gonna quit drinking on New Year's Day. And she just looked at me and she made a compelling argument. She just said, why? And I couldn't give her a good answer. I really could not give her a good answer. So yeah, I think I'm gonna probably still have a pop every once in a while. And anytime you see someone who's living to 116, what the hell? I'm not smoking, but they smoke every single day. And they have a shot of whiskey or they drink vodka or something, live a long and happy life. And damn it, so why shouldn't I? And that's what I'm going to do. But a couple of things I wanted to touch on today, now that I had to fill time. And I know this sounds like it is a bailout, but I'm just rearranging things. And feel free, if you are, present and watching the show, that you can just hit the comment section and throw some questions up. And this is a bailout that happens on radio shows all the time when there's a little inside, behind the scenes peek at radio, is that when you don't have a topic, you come up with an Ask Us Anything segment. And that's basically putting it into the hands of the viewer / listener and letting them dictate where the show goes. And then you're just trying to find something to go off on. So, but I have gotten through our website questions from some of the smart and good-looking viewers of KB's Unemployed show, and to ask me questions about, a variety of things, being in radio, being unemployed, things that I miss, things that I don't miss. So I figured to kill the time today, well, I will take some of those questions and provide you with the answers. And if you have any questions of your own, just hit the comments section and be more than happy. I'm an open book here, folks. I am an open book. So I would be more than happy more than happy to give you my honest opinion, provided it doesn't get me in any legal trouble. But you can ask me just about anything that you want, and I'm going to give you a straight up answer. So if you're compelled to do that, by all means. And nothing is off limits unless it would get me in trouble legally. But other than that, nothing is off limits. Comments, question, or one comment that I do want to make. So my son comes into town, and we go down to Fiserv Forum. And this trip down to we go down to Fiserv to watch the Badger hockey team play Lake Superior State when did they play? On Sunday? Yeah, Sunday? Was it Sunday? Yeah, it was Sunday. Played on Sunday, played Lake Superior State. Now, Wisconsin's men's hockey team was ranked number 2 in the nation. Last night, apparently lost to Western Michigan. So that ranking may change, but went down to Fiserv to watch what would have been, I guess it's the Quick Trip Frozen Circus. I don't know what it is, but they used to have the Badger Hockey Showdown. Excuse me. So we were down watching that. And I realized, and I've said this before, but as we were down there, walking around, I realized how much I hate to see an event at Fiserv. I absolutely cannot stand the building whatsoever. Aside from the fact that the ownership group, it's like nails. They just hate them. I just do not like anything about the ownership group. Now, there are several people who work down there who are wonderful friends of mine, and I have literally no issues there. But the ownership group, I am not a fan of at all. And as I was walking around Fiserv, I realized again, every time I go, I try and give it a shot. I try and give it the benefit of the doubt. And the fact of the matter is, you walk around that place and it has all the charm of a communist block train station. I don't think I've ever been in a building that has so little character and personality than that one. For starters, we're walking around, and now they didn't have the upper tank open, right? But as we were walking around, they didn't have half of the concession stands open either. So we had no idea where to go to get food. And the other thing is the bathroom situation. I don't know this could be what color is the sky in your planet, but as far as the bathroom situation is concerned, the men's bathroom, they were lined out into the hallway. So someone must have miscalculated something. Unless it's one of those things where they want to make it so it is so unenjoyable in the concourses of the arena that you stay in your seats, in which case they've done a masterful job. I know that, the Bradley Center was kind of a big cavernous place too, but it was more wide open in the concourses. And in hockey games, you've got 2 halftimes, right? So what did you do when it got to the middle of a period, at least for me? And it's been this same way ever since I've been attending sporting events inside, and even to the effect that it was like that back in the 80s when I would go to Packers games. At halftime, you do a lap, you take a lap, you go around the outside, you see who else was there. You might bump into somebody, you might buy them a beer, they might buy you a beer. You can't really do that at Fiserv. You walk around, you have no idea where you are. You're in some, all of a sudden it takes a crooked, jagged turn, and there's just no loop to do. It's the absolute worst place to be unless you're in your seat. And for hockey, it is a horrible arena for hockey. People are going, well, we could get a hockey team now. We could get, why aren't the Admirals playing there? It's a terrible, 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 terrible arena for hockey. And I'm going to tell you why. For starters, all of the good seats, all of the great hockey seats, are not there. There are no good hockey seats in that arena. And the best hockey seats in an arena, or the best hockey seats in an arena are low. If you're not a big fan of, if you're not a big hockey watcher, the best is the second deck, first couple of rows, center ice. Then you can go behind the goals, up a little bit higher. But then for the full fan experience, the best place to be is low and in the corners, right on the glass, right? How many times have you seen guys, they're pressing up against the glass. They've got the puck pinned, and then the fans get up and it's boom, 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 boom on the glass. And none of those seats are there. It's just all wide open. It is not configured to put anyone close on the glass. There isn't even anyone close on the glass directly behind the goals. So there's this distance from the rink, which is not really conducive to great hockey watching. As far as I'm concerned, you can have that arena. The other thing was that the in-game production, what they basically did for this hockey game was, though it was not at the same level of intensity, they kept all the stuff that was all the mixed music in between the plays. It was all from NBA games, and demographic is radically different. So that music that you're playing in between stoppages and play is not hockey music. There was no Zamboni song, right? There was none of that being played. No good old hockey game is the best old hockey game. None of that. So there was absolutely no hockey feel to it. In that sense, it was very disappointing. The Badgers won, which was not very disappointing. Welcome, Andrew, which is not disappointing with the Badgers win. It's a young team. It's an incredibly young team. And if those guys stick around, I think it would be they're going to be on a pretty good run for a while now. Only one kid from Wisconsin on the team. It's a kid from Swamico. So there weren't any Wisconsin players coming up yet. But it is young, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, not too many seniors. Goalie was a freshman, which bodes well. And although I haven't been following it very closely, I don't know if the transfer portal is active in the world of college hockey at all. But if it is not active, it bodes well for the Wisconsin hockey team for the years to come. The other thing about hockey that makes it a little bit more interesting is these freshmen that all come in are all 21, 22-year-old freshmen. For the most part, 20, 21, 22, they've gone off and played juniors before they come back in and start playing at the college level, juniors, where they teach them how to go out and fight, basically, and then come back and play at the college level. But keep an eye on Wisconsin hockey because it is pretty solid. It is pretty solid. Although I did not see the game last night, but a 4-1 beatdown would seem to indicate it's either 4-1 or 5-2. Would seem to indicate that they weren't that strong last night. Perhaps they were a little gassed. But by and large, I mean, the bottom line for me is I just cannot bring myself to go see anything at Fiserv Forum. And now they built that. I'm very, very disappointed with the fact that they built that live music venue that's going to be attached, which personally, we don't need another sterile concert venue in Milwaukee. It's a money grab, and it is designed specifically. What they will specifically do is try and put the squeeze on the Pabst Theater Group, which disappoints me greatly because Gary Witt and the people that he has working down there, when Gary came in and took over, the Riverside was crumbling in on itself. The Pabst Theater was an empty barn. And within the last 15 years, they become vital, vibrant music destinations in Milwaukee. Even Turner Hall, is run down and dumpy as it looks in the inside. For an 800 seater, it has got a really good vibe to it and a very good feel. I've seen a lot of great shows there. I played there. And it's just unfortunate because if you get guys with money and they're building a concert venue, what's going to happen is they are going to outrageously spend on acts. The acts, you can't blame them. They're going to go where the most money is. And the people who are going to get screwed are going to be the fans again. So once again, get ready to lose a couple of great venues and then overpay for a sterile environment with no character. And I just think it's really unfortunate. I was always someone who liked the new stuff. I liked seeing what was new. I liked getting excited about things. But now I think as you age a little bit, you like the nostalgic feel. You like places with a little bit of charisma and a little bit of class. The Pabst Theater in and of itself is such a fantastic place. I was in there one night. Jeff Tweedy was playing, who, of course, the front man of Wilco, and the acoustics in there are so good. He was playing solo acoustic. He stepped away from the mic with his guitar and played an entire song completely not amplified. And you could hear it. I was in the fourth balcony, and you could hear it perfectly up there. So, a great venue like that. Been in the 414. That seating arrangement is a steep incline there. We're at the Pabst, in the second balcony at the Pabst. It is very much so, but it's built straight up and down, so the sound will travel upwards and not necessarily outwards, and that's what makes it so good. But you're going to see a lot of those. I saw so many good acts there, and are they going to follow the money and go somewhere else? I think it would be unfortunate. One of the best shows that I ever saw at the Pabst Theater was Guy Clark, Joe Ely, John Hyatt, and Lyle Lovett. And they did a writers in the round, and they sat and 1, 2, 3, 4. They just went up and down the row and did a song, and handed it off. And it was absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you're going to get that same type of a feeling. Even when they converted the auditorium into the Miller Theater, the Miller High Life Theater is a little bit more, a little less charismatic than the auditorium was. And I saw some great shows at the Milwaukee Auditorium. I mean, one of the best I ever saw there was Dire Straits, probably in 81. When that was about a 7,000 seater. And that was a fantastic show. But yeah, that whole Deer District, I was looking at it going, is there any, and even any of the bars, it's like, why would I come here? A Fat Tuesdays is not of any interest to me. A Fat Tuesdays is at a Six Flags or, is Fat Tuesdays originally from New Orleans on Bourbon Street? I don't need a 3-foot hurricane glass of a green neon drink at any given time unless I'm on vacation, and I certainly don't need one in downtown Milwaukee. The Mecca Sports Bar and Grill is remarkably average at best. I don't think we need another microbrewery around at all. And then what they did with the what do they call it? The New Fashioned. It's like that gaming type bar, and it was something else before. Well, that couldn't make a run of it, and now I got down there and I went, no, not so much. No reason for me to be here. No reason for me to go into these places. You've got cities that build around the outside of these arenas, and they end up being great destinations. I just don't see this one being a destination unless anyone else out there does. I do not. And, but where you go to Westgate out in Phoenix around in the Glendale area, cool as hell. But you've also got 365 days a year that you can be out there. Well, with the exception of the summer. Ballpark Village in St. Louis is fantastic too. I've been to Ballpark Village when there haven't been baseball games, and it's been, packed and just rocking with stuff. But again, none of that down there. So I think we're getting a lot of wasted. It's a lot of wasted space. But then again, the ownership group that owns that, I firmly believe they don't care about providing, and many places don't anymore. They don't care about providing a service or providing a product that benefits the community. They don't put the community first. They put how much money is it going to make them first. And if it benefits the community, great. If it doesn't, well, you know what? Shame on them. They don't know what they're missing. And I don't think that is a way to go about it. I think there are way too many companies that do that. They don't listen to what their customers are saying. They make changes based on financial decisions only instead of the financial implications only, instead of taking a look at the long-term stuff. And the only people that and the people that lose out are the customers and the fans, and they and generally end up taking away part of the experience in exchange for a few more cents. And I think it's kind of a sad way of looking at things. Ben says, yeah, 5 serve is what I refer to. Yeah, you get in that upper tank, it does get a little bit steep. Now, it's not as steep as I remember when the old Comiskey was torn down and New Comiskey opened, and that's the only way I know it is New Comiskey. And they have since redid the upper deck, but that upper tank was scary. You didn't even want to be in that upper tank. It was so straight up and down. I was there for a Brewers game once, and I was like, never again am I going up top. Mm-hmm. Absolutely horrible. So, as I was saying today, what I'm going to do is I've had questions that have been sent to the Drew and KB website, or to my email, kb@drewandkb.com. And what is going to, I'm going to answer some of these questions today. And you can feel free to chime in with anything that you want for your, anything that you want of your own, you want to know about me. Like I said, nothing is off limits. And I will answer just about anything, unless, of course, there are legal ramifications. So the first question that I have is, we're going to add this banner. And are you looking for a job, or is this your job? Okay, let me get my door here before I answer this. Just hold on. All right, and we're back. Am I looking for a job, or is this your job? Well, considering it was like the middle of December that I was relieved of my involuntarily separated from my previous employer, in the middle of December, no one is doing any hiring, no one is doing any looking. So what I did was I said, well, nothing's going to be happening now. My entire life, I was never radio was always kind of my side hustle. And just as of recently, when I started working with Drew, that's when it became my permanent full-time job. And the way I would define a permanent full-time job is, and the way I always define it is, where do I get my health insurance? If I'm getting my health insurance from a place, that's the place that is always going to get priority over anything else. So that's when radio actually became a regular full-time gig for me. And so am I looking for a job, or is this your job? I will be looking for a job. Now I still teach, but as an adjunct instructor, I can tell you this much that I'm not building a second home with what I'm making at the universities that I teach at. I mean, that's just not happening. You're not making huge money doing that. And you just don't go, well, I'll pick up a few more classes. So it's not that easy to do. If I could pick up a couple more classes, I would probably just do that, but that's not a possibility. So is this my job? Is this what I'm doing right now, my job? And the answer to that is no. It's something that I'm doing, but it's not my job. A job would be something that pays you. And this does not pay me at all. So right there, it would not be a job per se. It's how I'm killing some time. Now, I will tell you this, what I've noticed over the last few years, and it's why if any of you were following what I was doing with YouTube, previously, everything is moving to YouTube. I think radio is going to be dead in a couple of years. And everything is moving. All the people that have been canceled from other media outlets, if you ever looked at who they were, and the ones that come to mind, top of mind right now are, excuse me, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. Yeah, they are conservatives. But when they went off of their regular terrestrial news channels and took it over to YouTube, it exploded for them, and they're bigger than they've ever been. So this is the platform that I think in the future you need to be on. So now that I've got the time and I have the access, I decided I'm just going to go out and start talking to a TV screen and learn how to do it. I have the shifty eyes of a serial killer. I am not very good. As you can see, I still haven't fixed the glasses thing with my screen, but I will get around to that. When we return after the first of the year, all of that will be rectified. But it's not a job, but I'm learning how to do it. And one thing I can tell you is that it's an awful lot of fun doing stuff like this and just being able to talk and spit out what comes to mind. And so is it my job or am I looking? I will probably start looking for something after the first of the year. Not probably, I know that I will. What that'll be, I have absolutely no idea. Now, I can tell you that my background, my career was in advertising. And I really, since I took the job here, I really haven't, or since I started doing the show with Drew, I really wasn't active in the advertising space. And that moves so fast that if I were to get back into it now, I probably would have no idea what's going on. Because the dynamics of that entire industry have changed. But most importantly, there is no way on God's green earth I am going to go to work every day and listen to a 35-year-old tell me I'm wrong. I very well may be wrong. And that is entirely possible, but it would take me about 2 weeks before I would want to peel my skin off if I had some cocky 35-year-old talking down to me in a condescending manner. I'm not going to go. I would rather not do anything than go back and be Willie Loman, trying to make it in a business for young people. Or if you've ever seen Glenn Ross, what's his name? Shell. The guy who's selling was played by Jack Lemmon. The whole world has passed him by. And he's just hanging on by a thread. I cannot be that guy at all. I will bartend. I will do whatever I have to do other than that. But I did mention in the last show that I will be a starter out at a golf course this summer. So I do have a way to make some money. So that is where I'm at with with the job search right now. It will pick up, and I will keep you all posted when we get by the time it rolls around again after the first of the year. Jacob in Advance says, have you owned any cool cars in your lifetime? Well, it depends on what you define as being cool. I can tell you what my favorite car was of all time. I could tell you what my dream car. Yes, Dave, coffee is for closers. ABC, always be closing. Put that coffee down. But in terms of cars, my dream cars, I always wanted like a 65 or 66 Mustang convertible. I always liked that car. For a while, my wife always wanted a red Corvette, and for her 40th birthday, a friend of mine was selling his, and I got a good deal on it. But it was an 88 red Corvette. And so for a while we had this vet, but we didn't really drive it all that much. It's not a real practical car. If you're going to get a car like that, you have to make sure that, if it rides that low, you have to be able to get out of it and still look cool. Otherwise, don't drive the car. And so it was like actually getting older. It got to the point with the Corvette that I was like struggling to get out of it because it's so low to the ground. It's like, and you're trying to push yourself up. It's like, well, you can't look cool getting out of a car like that. So you can't even have a car like that. Now, the cool cars that I owned in my lifetime, I think there's only one. In fact, I know there's only one that I absolutely loved. And it was my second car. My first car that I got was a Plymouth Horizon. It was a piece of shit. And then I traded that in and I got a 1979 Delta 88 Royale. And that thing was just a beast. And it was a big burgundy car. Huge, 8 cylinders, and I'm sure it got only 12 miles per gallon in gas. Had huge tires, and I had to put snow tires on. So you had to switch out the tires in the winter. So I had tires and snow tires when my regular tires wore out because I was 24 years old and incredibly poor. Boom. What did I do? Snow tires, 365 a year, 365 days a year, driving snow tires. I've gone out and I've looked for that car again, and you can find them out there, and they're not totally beat up. And I'm like, God, I'd like to drive that baby again. Maybe I'll go get it, go trade in and pick that up. But here's the problem is it wouldn't fit into my garage. That thing was so big, it would barely fit. I measured it would barely fit into my garage. So that one is going to be kind of out the window. Ben says, my parents had an 82 Delta 88, 2-door, and the doors were like 5 feet long. Yeah, mine was a 2-door. I didn't have a 4-door. Had the 2-door, and you had to push the seat up to get in. And that door, that door had to be a good 4 feet. Easy 4 feet long, big, huge wings, slam that sucker shut. And you knew when that car was coming. Never in an accident. Never in an accident with it. But if I was, I would guarantee you that I would probably come out on the winning end of that. In fact, I'm pretty certain that I would have come out on the winning act of that bad boy. But so is it a cool car? No, but it was my favorite car. Another one coming from is, what do you miss most about being on the air? What do I miss most about being on the air? That's a good question. What I probably miss the most about being on the air is at least on the air. What I miss are those moments. And Drew and I and Hunter, we had a good chemistry working. And Hunter, the young Hunter, to understand how Drew and I worked together, and he knew how to stay out of the way and not jump in or know when it was his spot to jump. And he needed to contribute, and then when he needed to stay out, and was exceptionally good at it. The worst thing you can get on radio is when you have three people talking over each other. The worst thing about sports radio is the people that just try and out yell each other. It's freaking horrible. But what I miss the most are the days on the show when stuff was just clicking and the timing was working. And you would get in a flow where you could almost read each other's minds, and you could set each other up very well because you knew the way that someone was going to respond. So it was almost like you could toss somebody a softball knowing that they would come up with the right punchline. And that was when things got going that well. I miss those moments being on the air. I miss having some of the guests that we have on, and to be able to surprise them with the way that I would ask questions. When I learned how to interview people when I was in college and in journalism, they said always look for something deep to ask them that they don't always answer or they don't expect, but it's something that will indicate to them that you've done your research. And Drew and I were both very, very good at finding those little nuggets and throwing them at somebody. And once they do, then they click and they open up, and you're going to get more information out of them on the regular questions that people want to know about than you would have before, because they know you care, and you would get a real answer on the follow-up instead of a stock answer. And those were pretty good. But, mostly the one thing that I do miss the most about it is being able to do a show with Drew. Drew and I have been hanging out for going on probably 30 years together, right? And being able to do a show with a friend every day going in, and it really is. The show really was like being in a bar with us. Even if you were to meet us out, hanging out in a bar and get in the middle of a conversation with us about any subject, it doesn't matter. The conversation that you would hear in the bar, we would bring you right into the middle of it. We would talk to you. We would be saying the same things back and forth as we were saying on the air. There was nothing contrived. When I was doing the morning show at KLH, it was very much like that. Dave Luzak is an amazing radio person, one of the best ever. And he had an uncanny knack for knowing and withholding information so he could get my natural reaction. And he learned me well enough that he could do that. And when that would start to click, that was fantastic as well. But it's really not the same as someone who you've gone on road trips with and gone to foreign countries with, and both have some similar skeletons in the closet. A lot of the stories that we would tell on the air were not the entire story. I can tell you that. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, and some of it was edited from its original format for clearing the rating censors. But that I would say would be that. I guess that would be what I miss the most. Here we go. Here's another one. coming in here. Bum, 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 bum. And that one is. Where is that? What do you not miss about being on the air? What do I not miss? Well, you don't miss I think this is the same with any job. You don't miss the politics of a situation. You don't miss, sometimes there are personalities that clash, and you certainly don't miss that. You don't miss the difficult parts. And most of that stuff happens off the air. In terms of on the air, what I don't miss is, when the first lineup change kind of came around, we picked up a fourth hour, and that got to be a grind. That's an awful long time to talk, 4 hours, and you tend to not be fresh at all. And so that got to be very difficult. In terms of, my tenure, I have nothing, there's nothing negative that I have to say about anything that I did. Most recently with Drew and with that company. It was, when Red Hot brought us in, Red Hot was a great program director. He knew, good managers are people that are able to recognize the talent that somebody has and stay out of the way. And that's what Red Hot was great at with each one of the shows. He could recognize what the talent was, what made each show tick, and he wouldn't mess with the sauce. And that allowed all of us to thrive. You take a guy like Armin, who was catching a lot of flack. When Armin was our producer, Drew and I have said on more than one occasion that Armin is the kind of guy we wish we were as excited about life as he is. We found the little quirks in his personality and brought it out and let him become Armin. Same thing with Hunter. We were able to do that. But I don't miss having to do the extra time. I don't miss having to be locked into a certain amount of time. I mean, we're looking at probably another 20 minutes left in this show. I mean, I could say everything that I want to say right now, and be out of here in an hour and 15 minutes. It's better for you guys. You don't have to sit through a whole bunch of commercials. And it's easy to chop it up, and then you can just get a taste of the things that you want here and there. Just a little nibbles of the stuff. You can go back and revisit it. It's a lot more conducive. So I don't think there is such a thing as destination radio anymore, unless it's Howard Stern. But even people go back and listen to Stern on their own time. The one thing that I thought that we did very well was that we were highly interactive. And I'm trying to keep that interactivity going. So I thank you guys for jumping into the comments. Keep that interactivity going, because that's what Drew and I love the most, was the contact with all the listeners. And of any show, we were probably the ones who used it, who talked to the listeners the most and put the most calls on the air, referred to texts. And we kind of laughed about it, because we used to say, hey, or someone would come on the show and they're like, hey, I'm sorry for taking up the time. And we were like, hey, the more you talk, the less we have to. You're doing us a favor. So in a way, that's how we became so interactive. Ben says, I found it interesting. A huge radio corporation wouldn't allow your music to be heard on the stream. Don't they pay money to play music? That I have no idea how that works. That gets into publishing rights, and the music industry is so effed up right now. I don't know how, there's no one who's making money by putting their music up on streaming services. And I think streaming services have really killed music, because no one sits and listens to albums anymore. No one hears the whole story of an album. There's no liner notes. There's no double albums, the double album. I mean, kids don't have to clean pot anymore. So why do you need a double album? You have no reason for But in terms of why they don't allow it, I literally have no idea. That's something that a producer would know. I know that, like, I've posted stuff to YouTube and it's come back because I do the acoustic cover of the day. And when I put a cover song up there, it'll come back with it's not a copyright strike, but what it is, it's a copyright notification. And then it will tell you whether or not they allow that artist or that publishing company allows its music to be heard by somebody else other than the original artist or owner on YouTube. And it happens a lot when I've done music. What it says is this does not affect your community guidelines at all. So it doesn't count as a quote unquote strike against me. But it just couldn't be played the sound would not be played in some areas. And generally it's Russia and Belarus are the ones that always show up. Why? I don't know. But that would be, that's all I know about the music side of things. Most of the music that I'm doing now anyway is either original or by friends of ours. And I'll call them up. Hey, can I use your music for this? They'll go, yeah. And so if anything were to come up, I would, hey, like the one that you're hearing here is a band out of Minneapolis, High on Stress, that I used for the show Open Now. The other one was our friends with Dropkick Murphys. And hey, Nick, I'm going to use this song. Oh, that's cool. Hey, Ken, do you mind if we use that song? No, go right ahead. Right. So, but in terms of how you pay, I do know that it's like 1/1000th of a penny per stream or something that you get if you put your own music up. I mean, no one is getting rich off of Spotify or anything at all. Here we go. This is a good question. What is the most unexpected thing that you learned about yourself while being unemployed over the last couple of weeks? That is, a great question. And when I saw it, I started thinking about it, go, geez, what is it? What is the most unexpected thing you learned about yourself? Well, I guess the most important thing, unexpected thing that I learned. The most unexpected thing that I learned is I still have passion for something. We all get a little bit older, and I had made the comment that you spend some time in business for as long as you do, and you're working with people and you have to deal with different personalities. And you get, many of you feel that out there, you get the absolute shit beat out of you. And it just beats you down. And it was really, really, it gets really, really difficult to get up and, to get excited about anything. You become jaded, you become cynical. You've seen it all, so you don't want to see anything else. You can pretty much call every shot that's going to be taken. And there's really not a lot out there that excites you. But what being unemployed has taught me is that in having to do this, and whether what I'm doing here, like I said, I'm just killing time. I'm learning how to do this. Whether I do it on a consistent basis in the future, I don't know. But what I did come to realize is learning, it's almost like learning a new skill, or seeing how YouTube works and how doing shows work, and what could I do to be different on a platform. Because really, as Butchie would say, this isn't costing me a lot of money. It's costing me a lot of sweat equity to learn how to do it. And the most unexpected thing I learned about myself is I can actually get excited about something again. And I'll get up in the morning and I'll start learning how to do thumbnails. And even if you go and take a look at the web page or the YouTube channel, and you take a look at the way my thumbnails have changed over the last couple weeks, and what you need to do to be more exciting and what you have to do to cut stuff down. And then you follow the rules and the guidelines, and you learn more new information, and you do it, and you see some sort of a residual effect. It becomes pretty cool. And so I actually look forward to getting up and coming in and learning some of this new stuff. Whether it'll be put to use or not, I have no idea. I would like to think, fingers crossed, that it will get put to use in the future. I would love, it's not in the cards now, but if I had to have a Christmas wish, if you will, I would love to find a way to put the band back together on YouTube, and just kind of say, hey, we're going to do, Drew and I do an hour and a half a day and call it a day. I would love to be able to do that. I don't see that happening, and it's not anything that I'm pursuing right now, but you never know what is going to happen and where you're going to end up. I'm just going to go into it being prepared and knowing how to do some of this stuff. So, but those are a few questions there. Thank you very much for the ones that you threw at me. Now that brings us to one of my favorite features here on KB's Unemployed show, and that is my all-time top 5 worldwide. And today, my all-time top 5 worldwide is my top 5 lesser-known quotes from the Godfather movies. Now, The Godfather is my all-time favorite film. I can watch this thing over and over and over again. I can watch The Godfather 2. I will watch The Godfather and Godfather 2 when Bravo or AMC or whoever does it breaks The Godfather, mashes the two movies together and makes it full and completely chronological, right? Absolutely love how they do that. From start to finish, from the young Don Vito coming from Sicily in through Ellis Island. And you can see how everything develops sequentially. In The Godfather 2, the flashback sequences and going back and forth works as a film device, but it's also good to see it the other way. Godfather 3, meh, not so much. Had a lot of expectations for that, but when you spend that much time between 2 and 3, that 3 is not going to be any good. Even Spinal Tap 2 was okay, but it wasn't great. So these quotes, my favorite quotes in The Godfather, are coming primarily out of The Godfather 1 and The Godfather 2. Now, these are not the most popular quotes. These are the lesser known quotes from the film. They're quotes that, as I was saying earlier, that every once in a while you just might hear Drew and I drop it into a conversation, or I'll drop it into as an aside. Of course, the real popular quotes that people hear, that you hear from The Godfather, are always made him an offer he couldn't refuse, right? Or he sleeps with the fishes. But mine are a little bit different. They come at pivotal parts of the film, and they either show just a casual disregard for human life or for the gravity of the situation that these people are in, or are very revealing about the character themselves. So we're going to start off in the number 5 spot for my 5th most popular lesser known, my fifth favorite lesser known Godfather quotes goes to Big Fat Clemenza. And the quote is, Sonny is running wild. He's talking about going to the mattresses. Now, this comes at a time in the movie in Godfather 1 after they, I think it's Barzini, puts the hit out on the Don, or the Tatalias. It's one of the five families that put the hit out on the Don, right? And he's shot outside. He's shot in the fruit stand, and Sonny goes nuts because they went after his old man. And he says, in this scene, Clemenza gets in the car with Paulie, who is played by Johnny Martino, who was on our show. He's much older now, but Johnny Martino played Paulie in the movie, and Paulie was the guy that was the Godfather. He was Don Vito's kind of bodyguard. He was always supposed to be with him, but he was the one who sold him out, was not near the car, or called in sick on the day that Fredo had to drive his old man, and that's when his old man got shot. So in this scene, Paulie comes over to pick up Clemenza, and he's like, hey, what are we doing? And he goes, Sonny's running wild. He's talking about going to the mattresses. And going to the mattresses, what that means is everyone bails out of their own home. You get these hideouts. They throw mattresses on the floor, and you all hunker down and you prepare for this gang war. And this is a phrase that Drew and I oftentimes will throw into everyday conversation, or if someone's saying, hey, what are you doing this weekend or whatever, I'm going to the mattresses. And that basically means I'm going to disappear and I'm not going to do anything. So that is coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is a line that, yeah, it is quite popular, but it's also on the tail end of this car ride. And that is Fat Clemenza again, who says, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Now, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, there's Paulie, right? And Paulie gets whacked. And he gets whacked for leaving the Don unprotected. They knew it was him, so they took him out. And so when he got in the car the first time, in the last quote, his wife said, don't forget to take the cannoli. And so they took the car, they whacked him, but he had to deliver this cannoli. And after they get done whacking him, there's a car that's going to follow him, pick him up and leave. They get out, they're going to leave the car, says leave the gun because they don't want it traced back to them. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. And what made it great is it was just there's such a coldness to it. Like, yeah, we just took someone's life, but you know what? My wife is going to kill me if I don't deliver these cannolis. So it was just this feeling of how there's literally, no sense of the gravity of the situation or the morality of the situation that just happened. It's like, oh, I just better not leave those cannolis behind. Coming in number 3 goes to The Godfather Part 2. And in The Godfather Part 2, it is, this happens on New Year's Eve, and the Cuban government is getting overthrown now. Michael's going down to Cuba to cut a deal with Hyman Roth, and Fredo was down there, and Fredo was working with Johnny Ola and Hyman Roth, who are Michael's mortal enemies. And at one point, Michael is out in Tahoe, and they try and kill him in his own home, and he's trying to figure out who set him up. And he doesn't know. And he goes down to Cuba, and he's hanging out with Fredo, and they're going to go meet with Hyman Roth, and they go to this sex show, if you will. Now, earlier, Michael had asked Fredo if he knew Johnny Ola. And Fredo says, no, I have no idea. I've never met him. I don't know who Johnny Ola is. Well, as they're sitting at this sex show, Fredo gets a couple of Cuba Libras in him, gets a little popped up, and he starts running his mouth. And there's a scene where he says, oh, no, I know this place. Johnny Ola brings me here all the time. And Michael overhears it. And it's the most brilliant piece of acting on Al Pacino's part, because I don't know how he did it without saying a word. His facial expression and the way they cut this, you could see that all of the life, you can just feel the pit of his stomach and how his whole body must have just went weak to realize that it was his own brother Fredo who set him up, who betrayed him. Fast forward, it's New Year's Eve. They're in Cuba. The Cuban government is getting overthrown. They're trying to get out of Cuba. Michael's got a plane waiting, but he's still going to get his brother out. And he goes up to him. He sees him at this New Year's Eve party, and it's the symbolism of the Judas kiss is just, it's chef's kiss. And he walks up to him, he grabs him behind the neck, and he says, "I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart." And it's just such a classic line, and just great acting surrounding the entire thing. Coming up at number 2 is also at The Godfather Part 2. Now, Michael Corleone ends up being like 1,000 times worse than the Don ever was. And if you go back to the beginning of The Godfather, Michael was the guy who went off to war. He was the good kid. He wasn't going to be in the family, and he ends up being worse than any of the other brothers or his father was. And in The Godfather Part 2, he's moving everything out of New York, and he's going out to Nevada, and he wants to get a gaming license for a casino. Now, there's a senator who is the linchpin to him getting this gaming license. And he says, he calls him in and says, here's what I want. I want this deal. I want a gaming license. And the senator's like, that'll be $250,000 to me, and this and this and this and this. And so the senator, and he goes off on some tirades about, the Italian, he calls him a guinea wop bastard or something like that, just really, really defaming the Italians. And Michael just sits there, and you can just tell by the look in his eyes how cold he is. And he says to him, after he gives him all the money that he wants, he looks at him and he goes, "My offer is this, nothing." And the senator just laughs, but it is so callously cold on the part of Michael. And you know what? He ended up getting the license because it was only a couple of scenes later when that senator ends up in a brothel with a dead hooker. And he's covered in sweat and blood, and she's dead. And next thing you know, Michael's got his gaming license. Because when Tom Hagen rolls in, he says, "You're very lucky, Senator. This woman has no family. There's no one. She has no one who will be looking for her. My brother runs this brothel, blah, 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 blah." And he uses his absolute power to get his way. And then finally, the number one most of my favorite lesser known quotes in The Godfather is this one. And it comes to the movie The Godfather. And this is the moment when Fredo realizes that Mikey is not Mikey anymore, that Mikey is calling the shots and he better fall in line. And they're out in Vegas, and he wants to buy Mo Green out of a casino. And so he walks in, he comes into this room, he comes out to Vegas, he's going to be there overnight. He wants to talk to Mo Green, and brings Mo Green in, and he says, "Mo, I'm buying out." He goes, "The Corleone family is moving west. I am going to buy your interest in these casinos. I'm going to buy your controlling interest. Think of a price." And Mo Green goes crazy, and he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, I was running casinos before you were, cutting your first teeth, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "You don't tell me what to do. I tell you what to do." And he goes off, and Michael doesn't say anything, just sits there cold and cool. And Mo Green leaves, and Fredo looks at him and says, "Mikey, You don't go to Vegas. He goes, you don't come to Vegas and talk to a guy like Mo Green like that, which was the worst thing to say. And Michael, sitting in this chair, turns around, he looks up at Fredo, and he says, Fredo, you're my older brother, and I love you, but don't ever take sides against the family. And it was at that moment that Fredo knew, it's like, okay, I'm not fucking around with this guy. He's the Don. He's really not my brother anymore. But the thing about this, why I love this, is I've used this in business quite a bit when I've had, people that I've worked with that have a tendency to get a little bit chirpy, and they may talk out of turn to people from other companies or this or that or behind the scenes. And it's the old loose lips sink ships thing. And you don't ever want to, I can fight with you in our own conference room, but if you take that fight outside, there's going to be hell to pay. And I've worked with more than one person who liked to chirp to the client, and stuff is circled back to me, and I just send them this clip, and I go, just remember, you can disagree with us, but you always take the company line. We'll fight tooth and nail behind the scenes, but you don't ever show any signs of weakness. And that is my number one lesser known fact about lesser known quotes from the Godfather. And so finally, we're about ready to conclude today's today's show, and we're going to conclude today's show with my new favorite segment, my all-time favorite segment, which is dun, da, 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 da. What color is the sky on your planet? Yes, what color is the sky on your planet? On KB's Unemployed show, what I do is I take a news story that is so absolutely outrageous and inane. You just have to look at whoever's in the story and go, what color is the sky on your planet, for God's sakes? Today's story comes from, it's a publication called Bro Bible, if you will. And it's what some Oxford, now you think Oxford is a very learned educational institution full of many, many learned people, right? And in this instance, what we've got is biologists. And a lot of people are worried about artificial intelligence, and most people are, but it's the University of Oxford biologist says it is not AI that is going to make a difference in the future. What we must be worried about are octopuses. Octopuses, yes, that's what he says. Professor and author Tim Coulson says octopuses have the physical and mental attributes necessary to take over as the next civilization builders. They just need humans to go away. He said the fate of all species is in extinction. In fact, 99.9% of all species that have ever existed are extinct, and humans will follow, and they will go extinct. And he said octopuses could make or is it octopi? Well, it doesn't matter. Could make forays onto land once all the humans are gone. That's the only reason they're not coming up now, because they know if they come up on land, it's not the fact that they're ocean-dwelling animals and they will die out of the water. It's like, no, we're not coming up into land because humans are there. He said if they do what we do, change the terrestrial surface that we've done on land through agriculture, you can imagine them having done the same in their marine environment. And then they'll say, let's go on land and see if there's anything we can do there. He imagines the octopuses saying that to themselves, having octopus conversations. He goes, we made scuba gear. Maybe they could make the reverse of that, kind of wander onto land. They'd need some support there. They'd need to create some sort of robots to help them move around. They never could be on top of hunting deer and things like that. I think that would be hysterical, though. I'm not quite sure how they'd cook it underwater. I haven't really thought about that. But I'm sure over time they would probably evolve. And he said they're probably just waiting for the right time to activate their alien DNA. And he says they're aliens now, and it's game over. And this could help them exploit new niches and adapt to a changing planet, especially in the absence of human influence. In a world where mammals dominate, octopuses remain an underappreciated contender. Their advanced cognition tool use and ability to adapt to changing environments provides a blueprint for what might emerge as the planet's next intelligent species after humans. And what I love about the way that's written is everything is, they could do this, and, all they would have to do is, get up on land and then figure out a way how to breathe. And then once they did that, they could figure out how to make a, scuba suit. But you read the title and it says, no, octopuses could build their own civilizations. If you are going to send your kid to Oxford, and that is the pinnacle, they go to Oxford to study. That is the absolute pinnacle. You could send someone there, and their professor is telling them that octopuses could take over the world. All I could possibly say to them is, what color is the sky on your planet? And with that, folks, I end today's KB's Unemployed show right about at the 4 hour and 15 minute mark, or 1 hour and 15 minute mark. Tomorrow, I'll be back with an episode, at 3 p.m. But tomorrow night, my New Year's Eve, it's actually a New Year's Day tradition. I don't go out on New Year's Eve anymore, but what Miss Sue and I do is we go, we have a nice dinner, we go to bed early, get up about 1:30 in the morning, take a shower, we head out to O'Donoghue's, one of our favorite places, roll in about 2 in the morning. Everybody is emptied out. It's nice and quiet. We have a couple of pops. There's a handful of people that we know that meet us there, and we drink till about 6 in the morning. And so tomorrow I'm going to do a short show in the afternoon, but there is a very strong possibility that I will be going live from O'Donoghue's at 2 in the morning. Now, don't set your alarms to get up and watch it live, because it will be recorded and broadcast, and you can catch it on the YouTube channel. So until then, as I always like to say, make good choices.